Well, Mr. Prime Minister, it's great to see you again. We've been in many meetings together, but it's good to have you here in the Oval Office. And you're welcome despite the World Cup match.
Yeah, sorry.
In spite of that, you know, you're one of our strongest allies and personal friends, and you've been a great personal ally as well. Together, we're stepping up our protection for democratic values across the world, and we're, you know, including standing strong with Ukraine. You've been very stalwart, and we look to you as well to make sure we have a coherent European response, all Europe, in response to Ukraine. And Russia is just continuing to act in ways that are almost unbelievable. The brutality with this act. Together, we're promoting human rights and the rule of law, and we're going to be co-hosting the next summit, the Summit of Democracies in March, which we'll be together again. And there's a lot that we have to work on together. Together, we're working on how to keep a free and open Indo-Pacific, and quite frankly, meet the challenges of China. Simply put, our countries have been so far in just lockstep in what we've done and our vision for the future. And so today, I look forward to discussing how we can further deepen our relationship and securing our supply chains to strengthen our transatlantic partnership. And thank you again, Mr. Minister. We've had a great relationship with both our countries and personally, and I look forward to discussing a lot more in detail.
Thank you so much, and also thank you for hosting me. It's the first time in my 5 visits that the fireplace is on. Typically I would start with the economy, and then I would have told the press that we are the second biggest investor in the US, and the United States is the biggest investor in Europe, but I think we should talk Ukraine. And we have seen this terrible footage coming out of the Dnipro this weekend, where innocent children, men and women, again, were in a rocket fire, and this apartment building was hit and many people died. These are horrible pictures, and I think it strengthens even more our resolve to stay with Ukraine, and I want to commend you personally and the United States for your leadership. I'm convinced that history will judge that in 2022, if the United States would not have stepped up like you did, that things would have been very different at the moment in the fight between Ukraine and Russian aggression. And we have decided to spend another $2.5 billion on helping the Ukraine war effort. If you compare this to the size of America, it will be over $50 billion. We have the intention to join what you are doing with Germany on the Patriot project, so the air defense system. I think that is important that we join that. I discussed it also this morning with Olaf Scholz of Germany. And then on accountability, we can never accept that Putin and Russia get away with this. So accountability, to take them to court, to make sure that this all gets done also in a legal way is crucial, and I know that you and I are working on this. But again, your leadership, United States, you personally, has been crucial. So again, I want to thank you for that, and let's stay closely together this year, and hopefully things will move forward in a way which is acceptable for Ukraine. They've done so much, and this year will be important. So
again, one of the things, if I just add very quickly, Europe continues to step up, respond to Russian action. There's more to do, and we have to stay together. And it's been really important that you've been there every single step of the way. So thank you. Thank you. Mr. President, I'm honored to welcome back to the White House. Welcome you back. It's a great pleasure having you here.
É uma honra recebê-lo de volta aqui à Casa Branca. É grande prazer recebê-lo.
Both our nations' strong democracies have been tested of late, very much tested, and our institutions are put in jeopardy.
Nossas duas nações são democracias fortes que foram testadas, duramente testadas e prevaleceram.
But both the United States and Brazil, democracy prevailed.
Em ambos os casos, a democracia prevaleceu.
When we spoke in January, I affirmed my commitment to our relationship. And when we spoke about our mutual agendas, they sound very similar.
Quando conversamos, eu afirmei o nosso apoio imbalável à democracia brasileira, e quando falamos sobre as nossas agendas, pareciam muito semelhantes.
I affirmed the United States' unwavering support for Brazil's democracy.
Eu afirmei o apoio incondicional dos Estados Unidos pela democracia do Brasil
And respect for the free will of the Brazilian people.
e o respeito pela livre vontade do povo brasileiro.
For the two largest democracies in the hemisphere, Brazil, the United States, stand together. We reject political violence and we put great value in our democratic institutions.
Somos as duas maiores democracias do hemisfério. O Brasil e os Estados Unidos se unem em rejeitar a violência política e os ataques às nossas instituições.
And I believe, as we said at the time, together, that we have to continue to stand up for democracy, for democratic values that are form the core of our strengths.
E como eu falei antes, eu acredito que nós devemos continuar a defender juntos os valores democráticos que constituem o núcleo da nossa força.
Not just in our hemisphere, but around the world. And rule of law, freedom and equality, these are the core principles we both believe in.
Não só no nosso hemisfério, mas no mundo. E valores como os direitos humanos, o Estado de Direito, são os valores que nós prezamos.
Our shared values and our strong ties between our people make Brazil and the United States, especially here in the big global challenges, they put us on the same page, especially the climate crisis.
Nossos valores compartilhados e os fortes laços entre os nossos povos tornam o Brasil e os Estados Unidos parceiros naturais para enfrentar os grandes desafios atuais, globais, mas especialmente a mudança climática.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your commitment to advancing our partnership. This is an important moment for both our countries, in my view, and for the world, quite frankly. And I'm looking forward to spending some time with you.
Senhor Presidente, obrigado pelo seu empenho em avançar a nossa parceria. Este é um momento importante para os nossos países e eu acredito para o mundo inteiro. E eu, pessoalmente, espero com otimismo poder trabalhar com o senhor.
Thank you for being here.
Obrigado pela sua presença.
Bem, Presidente Biden,
Well, Mr. President Biden,
além de recolocar o Brasil
besides repositioning Brazil
na nova geopolítica mundial,
in the new world geopolitics,
porque o Brasil se isolou durante 4 anos,
because Brazil isolated itself for 4 years,
eu tinha 3 coisas primeiro para lhe dizer.
I had 3 things to say to you,
Primeiro,
sir.
agradecer
First of all, to thank you
a
very much
solidariedade sua no reconhecimento da minha posse como
for
Presidente
your
da República.
solidarity and for acknowledging my when I was sworn in office.
Segundo, o
Second,
reconhecimento pela sua postura em defesa da
I
democracia.
want to acknowledge your posture in the defense of democracy.
E por último, lhe dar os parabéns
And last but not the least, to
pelo
congratulate you
discurso de antes de ontem,
because of your speech to the State of the Union 2 days ago.
que é um discurso que cairia muito bem se fosse feito no Brasil.
It would fit very well if that speech was made in Brazil.
O senhor sabe que o Brasil ficou 4 anos se auto-marginalizando.
You know, Mr. President, that Brazil
Um
self-marginalized
presidente
itself for
que não
4 years.
gostava de manter relações com nenhum país.
The former president didn't enjoy to keep international relations
O,
with any
o
country.
mundo dele terminava e começava com a fake news.
His world started and ended with
De
fake
manhã,
news.
de tarde e à
In the
noite.
morning, afternoon, and at night.
Ele me parece que menosprezava relações
It
internacionais.
seems that he despised international relations.
Sounds familiar.
E o Brasil é um país que não tem contencioso com ninguém.
And Brazil is a country that has no whatsoever any litigation with any country in the
O
world.
Brasil é um país em que o povo gosta de paz,
Brazil
de
is a country
democracia,
that people enjoy peace,
trabalhar,
democracy, work,
de carnaval,
and carnival,
de samba,
and samba,
né? E de muita alegria.
and a lot of joy.
E é esse Brasil que nós estamos tentando recolocar no mundo.
This is the Brazil that we're trying to reposition in the world.
Os Estados Unidos representam muito na relação com o Brasil.
The U.S. represents a lot of, has a lot
Na
of meaning for
relação
the relationship with
histórica,
Brazil. It's
na
a
relação
historical
histórica, relação
relationship,
política,
political
relação
relationship,
econômica e comercial.
economic and a trade,
E
strong trade
muito,
relationship,
e muito na relação cultural.
and very much so in the cultural
Nós
relationship.
agora temos alguns problemas para trabalharmos juntos.
Now we have some problems, some issues that we have to work together.
Primeiro,
First of all,
nunca mais permitir
never more allow
que haja um novo capítulo do Capitólio
that there should be a new chapter written again on the Capitol invasion here.
e que nunca mais haja o que aconteceu no Brasil
And never more should happen what happened in Brazil,
com a invasão do Congresso
the
Nacional,
invasion of the National Congress,
do Palácio do Presidente e da Suprema
the
Corte.
President's Palace, and the Supreme Court building.
A segunda coisa que temos que trabalhar junto é o combate à desigualdade.
The second thing that we can work together, we should work together, is to fight inequality,
A questão racial,
the racial issue.
que de vez em quando eu vejo ela ser praticada em todos os países,
And I see that once in a
Nos
while
Estados
this is
Unidos.
practiced racism in the U.S. and many other countries in the world,
e no Brasil,
and in Brazil too,
sobretudo a periferia jovem, os jovens negros da periferia,
especially the youth, the black
São
youth that live
vítimas
in the
muitas
periphery
vezes
in Brazil.
são vítimas muitas
Many
vezes
times they're victims
da incapacidade do Estado.
of the lack of government intervention and
Porque
support
a
or the state.
violência que existe na periferia
The violence that exists in the periphery,
é a ausência do Estado com políticas
it's
públicas
the absence of the state government with public policies
para garantir sonhos à juventude.
so that we can guarantee some dreams for the youth.
A terceira coisa é a questão climática.
The third issue is the climate change issue.
Nós temos um compromisso
We do have a commitment
desde 2009 em
since
Copenhague,
2009 in
quando eu
Copenhagen,
participei da COP15,
when I participated in the
em que
COP15,
nós assumimos o compromisso
and we took the
de
pledge
reduzir o desmatamento em
to
80%,
reduce deforestation in Brazil in
e
80%,
diminuir a emissão de gás de efeito estufa em 39%.
to diminish the greenhouse emissions effect in 39%,
E nós cumprimos isso.
and we have fulfilled that.
No meu
promise.
governo e no governo da presidenta Dilma.
During my term and during President Dilma's term,
Bem, nos últimos anos,
well, in the last years,
a Amazônia foi invadida
the rainforest in Amazon was invaded
pela irracionalidade política,
by political lack of rationality,
irracionalidade humana,
human irrationality,
porque nós tivemos um presidente
because we had a
que
president
mandava desmatar,
that would send people to deforest.
mandava garimpo entrar nas áreas indígenas,
Gold diggers, illegal gold diggers entering indigenous
mandava
people reserves.
garimpar nas florestas que nós demarcávamos
Gold digging, illegal gold digging in indigenous people
como
reserves.
reserva na Amazônia.
Reserves that exist in the rainforest in the Amazon.
E eu assumi um compromisso
And I took a pledge
de que até 2030
that till 2030,
nós vamos chegar a desmatamento zero na
we will
Amazônia.
reach zero deforestation in the rainforest in the Amazon.
Nós vamos fazer um esforço muito grande
We will take all the endeavors
para transformar a Amazônia
to transform the
não
Amazon,
num santuário da humanidade,
not a shrine for the humanity,
mas no centro
but the
de
center
pesquisa
for
compartilhado com o mundo
research
inteiro,
shared with all the rest of the world,
para que a gente possa tirar proveito
so that we can benefit
da riqueza da biodiversidade
of
da
the
Amazônia,
wealth and biodiversity that exists in the
para
Amazon,
ver se transformamos essa riqueza
so that we can transform this wealth
em melhoria da qualidade de
in the
vida do povo
improvement
que mora na
of the
Amazônia.
lives of the people that live in the Amazon
Ou
rainforest.
seja, cuidar da Amazônia hoje
So that is to say, to take care of the Amazon rainforest today
é cuidar do planeta Terra.
is to take care of the planet Earth,
E cuidar do planeta
to
Terra é
take
cuidar
care
da
of the
nossa
planet
sobrevivência.
is to take care of our own survival.
E por isso,
And that's why
todos nós
all of us,
temos a obrigação
we have the
de
obligation
deixar para os nossos filhos e nossos
to
netos
leave to our sons and daughters and grandsons
mundo melhor do que aquele que nós recebemos dos
a
nossos
better
pais.
world than the one we received.
Ou seja, uma árvore de 300 anos
So a tree that is there for
não tem
300 years,
proprietário.
no one owns that tree.
Ninguém pode derrubá-la.
No one can cut that tree.
Ela é um patrimônio da
It's
humanidade.
an asset of the humanity.
Ela está lá para nos garantir
That tree is
a
there
subsistência do planeta.
to guarantee the survival subsistence
E
of the
por isso nós
planet.
vamos levar muito a sério
So that's why we're going to take
essa
very
questão do
seriously
clima.
this policy.
E lhe digo mais uma coisa, presidente.
Mr. President, I'd like to say one more thing.
É preciso que a gente estabeleça uma nova conversa
It's necessary that we establish a new kind
para
of
construir uma
conversation
governança mundial mais forte.
so that we can build a world governance that would be
Porque
more
a questão
stronger.
climática,
Because the climate change
se não
issue,
tiver uma governança global
if we don't
forte
have a strong global governance
que tome decisões,
that can make decisions
que todos os países sejam
and
obrigados a
that all
cumprir,
countries should abide to,
se nós não tivermos, não vai dar certo.
if we don't do that, it's not going to work.
Eu não sei qual é o fórum,
I don't know what forum
não sei
this
se é na
will have.
ONU,
I don't know if it's at
não
the
sei se é no
UN,
G20,
or it's at the G20
não sei se é no
meetings,
G8,
or the G8
mas
meetings.
alguma coisa
But
nós temos que
something
fazer
we have to try
para que a gente obrigue os países,
so that we can oblige the countries,
o nosso Congresso,
our national
os
domestic
nossos
Congress,
empresários,
our business
a
sector,
acatar
that
decisões
they should abide
que
to
nós
the decisions
tomamos
that we
a
make
níveis globais.
at global levels.
Se isso não
If this
acontecer,
doesn't happen, Mr.
a nossa
President,
discussão
all our
sobre a
discussion
questão climática
on climate change
ficará muito prejudicada.
will suffer great damage.
E eu acho que nós não temos muito tempo.
And I don't think we have much time.
Urgentemente,
It's urgent.
nós precisamos
We need
tomar atitudes.
to take an attitude.
No Brasil, nós vamos
Brasil.
fazer o que é possível fazer.
We'll do whatever it's possible to be done.
Esteja certo
I can reassure you,
que os
Mr.
Estados
President,
Unidos
that the U.S.
e o resto do mundo
and the rest of the world
pode contar com o Brasil
could count on Brazil
na luta pela
in
democracia
the fight for democracy
e na luta pela preservação ambiental.
and the fight for the preservation of the Amazon rainforest.
Isso não é um programa de governo,
This is not a government
é um
program.
compromisso de fé
This is a faith commitment
de alguém
of
que
someone
acredita no humanismo,
that believes in humanism,
de alguém que acredita na fraternidade, na solidariedade.
someone that believes in solidarity.
Eu não quero viver num mundo
I don't want to live in a
em que os
world
humanos se transformarão em algoritmos.
where humans become algorithms.
Eu quero viver num mundo em que os humanos sejam humanos.
I want to live in a world where human beings are human
E
beings.
para isso precisamos cuidar com muito carinho
And for that, we have to take care very carefully
daquilo que Deus nos deu,
what God gave us,
que é o planeta Terra.
that is the planet Earth.
Obrigado, presidente.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Well, Chancellor, welcome back to the Oval Office. Welcome back to the White House. We've done a lot changed since the last year you were here. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, you were here in February of 2022, and Russia was amassing its troops, 185,000 troops on the Ukrainian border, and we made it clear that if he moved, we would both respond, and together we made good on that promise. And I want to thank you, Olaf, for your strong and steady leadership. I mean that sincerely. It's made a world of difference. And together, we made good on our promise. You stepped up to provide critical military support. And, you know, I would argue that beyond your military support, the moral support you gave to the Ukrainians has been profound. It's been profound. And you've driven historic changes at home and, increasing defense spending and diversifying away from Russian energy sources. I know that's not been easy, very difficult for you. Together we work lockstep to supply critical security assistance to Ukraine, and from everything from, we've done it in lockstep, ammunition, artillery, armored tanks, air defense systems, and we've been together throughout this. You help Ukraine meet its basic needs like food, health, heating, and you continue to give them, maintain the pressure on Putin, and it is undercutting his ability to fight this war. And so as NATO allies, we're making the alliance stronger and more capable. You've heard me say before that when I talked to Putin a couple months before that, I told him that we're more likely to get the NATOization, the Finlandization of Europe, which he was pushing for, more likely to get the NATOization of Europe. And he's had that effect in terms of what's happened. So a lot's happened since last year. We've got a lot to talk about, and I look forward to our conversation.
Thank you for having me again, and I really appreciate to be back in the White House. And let me just say, this is a very, very important year because of the very dangerous threat to peace that comes from Russia invading Ukraine. And it's really important that we acted together, that we organized our lockstep, and that we made it feasible that we can give the necessary support to Ukraine during all this time. And at this time, I think it is very important that we give the message that we will continue to do so as long as it takes and as long as it is necessary, and that we are ready also for staying with the Ukrainians as long as it is necessary. And I really appreciate the very good cooperation between the two of us, our governments, and the United States, Germany, and Europe. And the transatlantic partnership is really in a very good shape today, and this is very much thanks to your leadership. So I'm really happy to be here to talk with you.
A lot to talk about. Thank you. Welcome. It's good to have you back in the Oval Office T-shirt. You know, especially on St. Patrick's Day, and it's a big day in my grandparents' household, our household, a big day here, and I know a bigger day home. But thank you very much. And you know, there is a Yeats's phrase about, you know, I think there's where a man's most glory begins and ends is the glory to have such friends. But you've been a great friend of the United States, and Ireland and the United States share friendship, long traditions. And I guess you do know, coming here as many times as you have, how many Americans look forward to St. Patrick's Day. And one of the, as a millions of Americans of Irish heritage, we have a joke, we have an event that I used to do quite often, and it's now done up in the hill. As I said, we invite all the friends of Ireland, all the Irish members of the Congress, and those who wish they were. I want to thank you on a substantive matter, standing together on Ukraine. It means a great deal, speaking out against Russia's brutal aggression and our deepening economic ties. We have a lot to talk about. And I spent some time with the Prime Minister of Great Britain, and I've very strongly supported the Windsor framework, which I know you do too. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk about that. And for us, the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement is something that a very good friend of mine devoted a lot of his life to, George Mitchell, and we that critical. So I'm looking forward to meeting you and having our celebration together, and a lot to talk about. Where's yours?
Thank you, President. Tá áthas arm bheith seo san teachbáil agus tábhaid buíoch as an Uachtaráin don taíocht maidir le Brexit agus de ceannaireacht maidir leis an cogadh in Ukraine. Agus atá méid tanú leis de cuairt mór go Héireann. Beidh sé cuairt den sco Galway, so or Galway mother. So first of all, thanks so much for inviting me to be here. I really appreciate the invitation. Really want to thank you for your help and support and understanding for our position on Brexit in recent years. Really made a difference, and we've got to a good place now, I think, with the Windsor framework, where we can have an agreement that lasts, which is important for Northern Ireland and also important for British, Irish and European relations. Really profoundly want to thank you and America for your leadership in relation to Ukraine. I never thought we'd see a war like this happen in Europe in my lifetime. America is at its best when it stands with its European partners to defend freedom and democracy. And thank you for that. And I know you'll stay the course for us, with us, and we'll stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. And also really looking forward to your visit. I promise you that we're going to roll out the red carpet, and it's going to be a visit like no other. Everyone's excited about it already. We're going to have great crowds who would love to see you, and look forward to talking about some of the details a bit later.
I look forward to that as well. Thank you all. Well, Mr. President, welcome. Glad to return the hospitality you provided for me in Madrid, and my only regret is I wish you were staying for a week. During that visit, I said that you said that our two nations are linked by a shared desire. I think the quote was, to promote the principles of freedom. I couldn't agree with you more. Because today it's at stake in many parts of the world. And, together we're supporting Ukraine. I can't thank you enough for your significant support for Ukraine. It matters a great deal. And for your leadership, the partnership, and the challenge. Also, we signed a defense cooperation agreement, and I appreciate that as well. We're going to thank you for letting us station 2 destroyers in Spain. And together, you're helping us face the challenge. We're both facing the challenges of migration in the Western Hemisphere. You're doing a heck of a job. And Mr. President, you're about to take on the European Council's presidency this summer, and I'm anxious to talk to you about that as well. We have a lot to talk about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, and thank you, President Biden, for, I think it's a great pleasure, because I see you as a reference in the defense of democracy, as many citizens around the world would have never imagined that democracy would be under threat precisely here in Washington, in the US, but your commitment with the democratic values is an example to everyone. And in this context, I do believe that Spain and the United States, we share common values, and our bilateral relations are excellent. We are allies, friends, and also strategic partners. And I would like to touch upon 4 topics that we will discuss today. The first one is on Russia's aggressions in Ukraine. I do believe that the transatlantic bond and the unity among allies remains rock solid, President. We support Ukraine. Of course, we work for a lasting and just peace that respects fully the international law and also the principles of the UN Charter. Make no mistake, in this war there is an aggressor and a victim, and the aggressor is President Putin. So this will be the first topic. The second topic is how our governments, the US administration and also the Spanish government, we put in the center of our political priorities in the benefit to our middle and working classes, the green transition and the digital transformation. I would propose, President Biden, that we can work together to have the best success of COP28 later this year, and also that we could work together with the European Union in order to regulate the artificial intelligence to reach a highest level of standards at the global level. The third point would be, as President Biden said, the presidency of the Council of the European Union. We are very ambitious, President. We have many goals, but I would like to highlight 2, which I think would be very important in this second semester of the year. The first one is how do we reindustrialize the European Union together with the US economy, and also how do we, as Europeans, strengthen our bilateral cooperation with Latin America, which is a part of the world, a region where Spain and the US, we have common interests about democracy, prosperity, and a safe, regular, and orderly migration pathways. And last but not least, of course, we will talk about our bilateral relations, which I think are excellent, on the defense, as President Biden said, but also on science, trade, investments. We also are going to sign agreements to work together at the multilateral level in order to boost gender equality, LGTB rights, and also climate change, to name a few. So President Biden, I do believe that the world needs a US president that is committed to fighting the good fight, like you do, and you can count on Spain in that endeavor. So let's keep on doing this job.
Partner, I do count on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You ready? Still people working. Mr. Prime Minister, welcome welcome to the White House. Welcome to the Oval Office. It's been a long time coming. And let me apologize again for not being able to make my visit to Australia. Things were a little bit in disarray here and required me home. And so that's why I'm delighted you're here. And together, you know, we've worked together to strengthen the alliance, and I think we've actually deepened that strength. I think we've moved in the direction that, through our historic AUKUS partnership with the United Kingdom, and we've expanded economic involvement with one another, with American investment in Australia being at an all-time high under our administration. And in May, we strengthened our climate ties. And thank you for your move on climate. It's a big deal, including launching a new climate and minerals and clean energy compact, because you have great assets that we can all use to make sure that we move in the direction of clean energy. And today, we're taking our alliance even further with doubling down on cooperation on technology and science. This morning, we're going to discuss how all these efforts can help advance a free, open, and secure Indo-Pacific. And I look forward to discussing how we can work together to address threats to the stability in the region, and the economic stability as well, supporting Ukraine in the face of Russia's bitter aggression, and to stand with Israel in the wake of Hamas's appalling terrorist attacks. So, Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much for being here. It's an honor to have you. And thank you for your leadership and your personal friendships.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. It is a great honour for me to be here as Australia's Prime Minister. And our alliance, I believe, has never been more important, and it's also never been stronger. We've added a third tier. We have had defence, and we've had the economic relationship, defence through ANZUS, the economic relationship through our free trade agreement, but we've added a third part of this alliance, front and centre as well, through our clean energy, critical minerals and climate change compact, taking action to protect the world, to lower emissions, to take advantage of the shift to clean energy, the opportunity that presents to grow economies as well, and to decouple, particularly for developing nations, to allow them to develop in a way at the same time as they're reducing emissions. And breaking that nexus between industrialisation and emissions is so important. The AUKUS agreement is so central, and I thank you, Mr. President, for the work that you've done in persuading legislators to make sure that we put in place the measures that are necessary to encourage that two-way transfer of defence technology that will be at the centre of an agreement that's about peace and security in our region, but also about prosperity in our region as well. In addition to that, the work that we're doing together in the Pacific is very important. I know that you've hosted Pacific leaders twice here in the White House, and that has been very welcome. In today's uncertain world, the alliance between Australia and the United States, and the way that we stand steadfast against aggression, whether it be Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, or whether it be Hamas's terrorist attack on Israel, is something that can be relied upon for us to stand up for our common values. And that's why I very much welcome this visit, and welcome the cooperation that we're having, as well as our personal relationship. This is our 9th meeting in just the 16 months that I've had the honour of being Prime Minister. And I look forward to continuing to take the relationship to a higher level, as we do every time we meet. Today we'll be advancing technology agreement between our two great nations as well, and innovation is so important that we're able to commercialise it to benefit both of our peoples. I thank you.
We made one member of my administration incredibly happy, with your strong move toward environmental protection. That's Secretary Kerry.
Oh, indeed, indeed, and he's shown great leadership, of course.
He is.
And it is so important for us that the other area of our cooperation is, of course, in working on natural disasters. Later, I'll be visiting your emergency management authority. We've set up a similar model nationally based upon what you've done here, because climate change is real, and we can see its impacts with wildfires, with floods, and that is just a reminder every time that we have a responsibility to this and future generations.
Well, I was asked by Xi Jinping a couple of years ago why I was working so hard with your country. And I said, because we're a Pacific nation. He looked at me and said, yeah, we're a Pacific nation, the United States. We are. We're going to stay that way. So thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely.
Mr. President, on Israel, will you respond to attacks on U.S. troops in the region? Will you respond to attacks on U.S. troops in the region, Mr. President?
You're going to get into a press conference after this. We'll be able to answer your question. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Stills, please stand and go.
Partnership stronger than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And one of the things that together, through our America's Partnership for Economic Prosperity, we're going to grow the economies of the hemisphere from the bottom up and the middle out. You know, I've said many times that there's no reason why this hemisphere shouldn't be the most prosperous, most democratic hemisphere in the world. We have all the makings of that, and we're standing up for democracy and freedom, human rights, and rights of workers. I know we share those views, you and I. And together, we're working to address historic levels of migration in the hemisphere. A lot of people moving around, and I admire the way you handle it, particularly the Venezuelan refugees, which you set an example for the region. And so, as we embark on this next century partnership, let's make it even stronger.
Well, that's why I'm here for. Thank you for receiving me and my delegation. We are celebrating 200 years of diplomatic relationships, but also 20 years since our free trade agreement, which has bring a lot of benefits for both of us. I'm looking forward to strengthen our relationships, and I'm glad to be here also to the American Partnership, the APEP meeting. Hope we can talk on that. And well, we have a lot of values that we share. Of course, the preoccupation for human rights, democracy, and also the rights of the workers in the world. I saw you supporting workers here in the States in a couple of weeks ago, and I think that's very valuable from a president. And well, we have a lot of topics to discuss: the green transition, of course, migration, the economic development, and of course some issues that are going on in this world that it's really hard nowadays. But I know with the respecting human rights and fighting for democracy, we can reach some of the goals we share.
Well, you know, we, in my view, there comes a time, maybe every 6 to 8 generations, where the world changes in a very short time.
We are at that time now.
We are. And I think what happens in the next 2-3 years is going to determine what the world looks like in the next 5 or 6 decades. And so together, maybe we can make it better.
Let's work for it.
All right. Let's do it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. President,
has Israel agreed to a pause? Please, everyone, please, my still. Everyone, can you please display? Come on, everybody, let's move this way. Everyone, please move this way. Please come out this way. Everyone, thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. We're going to need you guys. All right, okay, well, let's stop your camera moving too. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Still, can you all please rise and we're going to come over this way. Thank you all. Thank you all. Everybody, please follow us this way. We're going to bring you up this way. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Yep, we gotta move up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, guys. Gotta pick up now. Thank you.
Di sini pada hari ini.
I'm grateful for the hospitality you showed me in Bali, and we're delighted to have you here.
Saya berterima kasih untuk keramah tamahan Bapak kepada saya waktu berada di Bali dan bersyukur untuk kesempatan untuk bisa membalas sedikit keramah tamahan Bapak.
Today we're talking about taking our relationship to launching the highest possible level of cooperation.
Hari ini kita meningkatkan hubungan kita ke tingkat tertinggi dengan berbicara mengenai kemitraan yang tertinggi.
A comprehensive strategic partnership.
Yaitu kemitraan strategis komprehensif.
This will mark a new era in the relationships between the United States and Indonesia, across the board, affecting everything.
Dan ini menandai era baru dalam kerjasama antara Indonesia dan Amerika Serikat dalam segala hal.
It includes enhancing security cooperation, particularly maritime security.
Termasuk di dalamnya adalah peningkatan kerjasama kita dalam hal keamanan, khususnya keamanan laut.
And it includes expanding our work together to build a secure and resilient supply chain.
Dan khususnya adalah untuk termasuk di dalamnya adalah memperluas kerjasama kita dalam membangun rantai pasokan yang aman dan tangguh.
It includes deepening our collaboration to combat the climate crisis.
Termasuk pula kolaborasi kita yang lebih dalam untuk menanggulangi krisis iklim.
You know, I've told you this before, but Indonesia is a critical player, critical in clean energy transition in the world.
Saya sudah singgung hal ini sebelumnya bahwa Indonesia adalah pemain yang penting di dalam transisi energi bersih.
And we're also going to continue to work with ASEAN to advance a free, open, secure, and prosperous Indo-Pacific. And I want to thank you, and I mean this sincerely, I want to thank you for your leadership in ASEAN this year. I really do.
Kami juga akan terus bekerja sama dengan ASEAN untuk memajukan Indo-Pasifik yang bebas, terbuka, aman, dan makmur. Dan saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Bapak untuk kepemimpinan Bapak di ASEAN tahun ini.
As we mark nearly 75 years of cooperation between our nations, I'm of the view our partnership is stronger than it's ever been and going to even get stronger.
Ketika kita memperingati hampir 75 tahun hubungan antara kedua negara kita, kemitraan kita makin kokoh.
I'm looking forward to our conversation today and to our cooperation with APEC Summit in San Francisco later this week.
Saya menantikan percakapan kita hari ini dan kerjasama kita di KTT APEC di San Francisco minggu ini.
As we used to say in the place I worked a long time, the United States Senate, I yield the floor to my friend.
Dan sebagaimana yang sering saya katakan ketika saya berada di Senat Amerika Serikat, saya berikan waktu dan tempat kepada Bapak.
It is an honor for me to fulfill the invitation from President Biden to visit Washington, D.C. The U.S. is one of the most important partners for Indonesia, and we agreed to elevate our partnership into comprehensive strategic partnership. But most importantly, we have to give a real meaning to it. For Indonesia, economic cooperation is priority, including on supply chains issues. Indonesia also wishes our partnership contribute to regional and global peace and prosperity. So Indonesia appeal to the US to do more to stop the atrocities in Gaza. Ceasefire is a must for the sake of humanity. Once again, thank you for your invitation, President Biden. Thank you.
Thank you. And as we met outside, as you got out of your automobile, we had a very important discussion on climate. The President said, I'm cold.
Ketika Bapak baru datang dan menyambut Bapak di mobil, ketika Bapak keluar, kita sudah ada berbicara mengenai topik penting sekali dalam iklim, di mana Bapak mengatakan, saya ini merasa dingin.
I told him I could take care of that immediately.
Dan saya mau cepat selesaikan hal itu.
Welcome.
Selamat datang, Pak.
Thank you, President Biden.
Thank you all so much.
Mr. President, are you concerned for your granddaughter's safety? Thank you. Mr. President, are you spoken to your granddaughter today? Thank you. Mr. President, have you spoken to your granddaughter?
Thanks very much. Thank you. We're finished now. Thanks.
Phil?
Let's go this way, please don't stop.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
And we are fighting corruption, as you already stated, as never before in our country. And these goals can be better accomplished if we do it through constructive cooperation. The Dominican people are very proud of our economic recovery, which depends to a considerable degree on U.S. trade and tourism. We will continue to work hard to build an even brighter future for all our people. Mr. President, we look forward to welcoming you soon to the Dominican Republic at the next Summit of the Americas in 2025, where we will continue to develop the bonds of prosperity, security, and democracy that bind us together. And that summit will be in Punta Cana, so you have time to be on the beach.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, President.
Everyone in? Well, welcome, and I want to welcome the President. It's an honor to have you here at the White House.
Seja bem-vindo, Sr. Presidente. É uma honra recebê-lo na Casa Branca hoje.
Before I begin, I want to say a few words about the recent inflation report we got yesterday.
Antes de começarmos, gostaria apenas de dizer algumas palavras sobre a situação da inflação que foi divulgada ontem.
We learned that inflation last month was a big round number, 0.
Soubemos esta manhã que a inflação foi número impactante e redondo no mês passado, 0.
We still have more work to do. Prices are still too high. Corporations are taking advantage. Too many families are still struggling a little bit. But with the record GDP and job growth, this flat inflation number is helping deliver a little bit of breathing room for folks in this right now, especially around the holidays.
Ainda temos mais trabalho a fazer, os preços ainda estão muito altos, algumas empresas estão tentando tirar proveito da situação, mas isso é boa notícia para muitas famílias que precisam disto na época do Natal, e isso junto com o crescimento recorde do PIB e a situação melhor do emprego, isso dá um certo fôlego nas festas do final do ano.
Mr. President, I apologize for starting off talking about American domestic issues, but these are important numbers.
Senhor Presidente, eu peço desculpas por falar sobre cifras da situação doméstica dos Estados Unidos, mas são números importantes para nós.
But as you understand, Mr. President, more than almost any leader in Africa, we meet at a historic moment.
O senhor entende, talvez melhor do que qualquer outro líder atualmente em África, que estamos nos reunindo num momento histórico.
Simply put, the partnership between Angola and America is more important and more impactful than ever.
Em poucas palavras, as relações entre Angola e Estados Unidos nunca foi mais importante nem mais impactante.
I'm particularly proud of our work through the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment. Excuse me, go ahead.
Estou particularmente orgulhoso do nosso trabalho por meio da parceria para a infraestrutura e investimento global.
I'm excited to build the Libido Economic Corridor as well.
E também me empolgo muito com a construção do corredor econômico do Lobito.
Together, we'll be mobilizing more than $1 billion for railway lines that extend from Angola to Zambia to the DRC and ultimately to the Indian Ocean.
Juntos mobilizaremos mais de $1 milhão para linhas ferroviárias que se estenderão de Angola até a Zâmbia e a República Democrática do Congo e no futuro até o Oceano Índico, conectando o continente de leste a oeste.
Connecting the continent for the first time from east to west.
Conectando o continente de leste a oeste.
This is a first of its kind project. It's the biggest U.S. rail investment in Africa ever.
Este projeto inédito é o maior investimento ferroviário dos Estados Unidos em África de todos os tempos.
And one that's going to create jobs and connect markets for generations to come.
É projeto que criará empregos e conectará mercados para futuras gerações.
On top of that, Mr. President, we're also investing nearly $1 billion more in Africa for a number of items.
Além disso, estamos a investir quase $1 milhão adicionais em Angola para vários outros projetos.
The solar energy project that will help Angola generate 75% of its clean energy by 2025. 75%.
Por exemplo, o projeto de energia solar que ajudará Angola a gerar 75% de energia limpa até 2025.
And the agricultural infrastructure projects that can help Angola be a net food exporter, exporting food by 2027.
E projetos de infraestrutura agrícola que ajudarão Angola a se tornar exportador líquido de alimentos até 2027.
And the projects are going to connect every Angolan to the digital economy.
São projetos que irão conectar todo cidadão angolano à economia digital.
And Mr. President, I want to thank you especially for your leadership, including working toward peace in the Eastern DRC.
E, senhor presidente, também quero agradecê-lo pelo seu trabalho e sua liderança em prol da paz, especificamente no leste da República Democrática do Congo.
When I started as a young senator on the Foreign Relations Committee, I was the chairman of the African Affairs Subcommittee.
Quando eu comecei como jovem senador, eu estava na comissão de assuntos africanos.
And as you've heard me say before, America is all in on Africa.
Como o senhor já me ouviu falar antes, os Estados Unidos está totalmente comprometido com o futuro da África.
And we're all in with you in Angola.
E também estamos totalmente comprometidos com Angola e o seu futuro.
So thank you very much for being here, and I look forward to our conversation.
Portanto, muito obrigado pela sua presença, senhor presidente, e eu aguardo com muita expectativa a nossa conversa.
Muito obrigado. Muito obrigado, presidente Joe Biden, pelo convite que me foi endereçado para realizar esta visita oficial de trabalho aos Estados Unidos da América, no sentido de procurarmos reforçar os laços de amizade e de cooperação econômica entre os nossos dois países, Angola e os Estados Unidos.
Thank you very much, President Joe Biden, for the invitation extended to me to conduct this official working visit to the United States of America in order for us to strengthen our bonds of friendship and economic cooperation between our two countries, Angola and the United States of America.
Nós estamos abertos a cooperar com os Estados Unidos da América em todos os domínios da nossa economia, mas não só da economia, também no setor da defesa e segurança, no setor dos transportes, da energia, das telecomunicações, da agricultura, da exploração do espaço com fins pacíficos e em outros domínios que forem do interesse comum entre Angola e os Estados Unidos da América.
We are open to having cooperation in the fields of economy, but not only economy. We should include sectors such as defense and security, transportation, energy, telecommunication, agriculture, and the use of space for peaceful purposes.
Gostaria de aproveitar esta oportunidade, Presidente Joe Biden, para felicitá-lo pelo facto de ser o primeiro chefe de Estado americano a mudar o paradigma da cooperação entre os Estados Unidos da América e o continente africano.
I would like to seize this opportunity to thank you, President Joe Biden, for having been the first U.S. president to change the cooperation paradigm between the U.S. and the African continent.
Eu estive aqui em Washington, D.C., na cimeira dos Estados Unidos da América à África, e o presidente Biden, naquela altura, prometeu passar a olhar para o continente africano com outros olhos, investindo, sobretudo, nas infraestruturas necessárias para o desenvolvimento do nosso continente.
I was here in Washington, D.C. for the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit, and at that time, President Biden promised to have a different look at Africa in order to provide the infrastructure which is necessary for the development of our continent.
Portanto, o envolvimento americano no projeto do Corredor do Lobito, nas telecomunicações, na energia, sobretudo na energia limpa, são a prova disso, uma vez que essas infraestruturas vão ajudar a desenvolver não apenas Angola, mas uma grande parte do nosso continente.
Of course, the U.S. engagement in Lobito Corridor, in telecommunication and energy, mainly green energy, is an evidence of that support, because infrastructures like those will help the country develop not Angola only, but also the whole African continent.
Portanto, é uma nova página que se abre nas relações entre os Estados Unidos da América e o continente africano.
So
graças a isso.
This is a new page that has been turned in the U.S.-Africa relations, and that's thanks to you, Mr. President.
Portanto, mais uma vez, muito obrigado, Presidente Biden, e estamos prontos, então, para bilateralmente discutir os assuntos que estão na mesa.
So once again, thank you very much, President Biden, and we are ready, and we look forward to discussing the bilateral issues that concern our two countries.
Africa, 1 billion people, critically important how it functions for the whole world.
A África é um continente de 1 bilhão de pessoas e é de importância crítica para o mundo inteiro.
And no country more important than Angola.
E em África nenhum país é mais importante que Angola.
Muito obrigado, muito obrigado.
Thank you.
Particularly in Europe. And this is one of those moments. Congress needs to pass a supplemental funding for Ukraine before they break for the holiday recess, before they give Putin the greatest Christmas gift they could possibly give him. And so because we've seen what happens when dictators don't pay the price for the damage and the death and the destruction they cause, and they keep going when no price is paid. The threats to America, to Europe, and the world will only keep rising if we don't act. And I intend that we act. The American people, Democrats and Republicans alike, I think, understand this, and they understand the very real fight that's going on right now. In the winter, this winter, Putin plans once again to bombard Ukraine's electric grid, intends to, with rockets and plunging families into darkness in the coldest part of the year. and doing great damage. We can't and won't let him succeed. We mustn't let him succeed in that. Mr. President, I've called on Congress to do the right thing, to stand with Ukraine and to stand up for freedom. And I want to thank you for being here. You're going to help the cause, and I don't want you giving up hope.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, dear journalists. I'm really glad to be here at the White House today and share some very important messages. Thank you for the invitation, and I'd like to thank America and our partners for the support. And today is a special day, really a special day for Ukrainian people. It's a day of our land forces, almost 600,000 incredibly brave Ukrainian sons and daughters are on the battlefield, and they were powerful. This is their day, and really they prove every day that Ukraine can win. And our forces are advancing, and we have successfully defeated Russia in the Black Sea, and Russia is hiding the remnants of its naval fleet in remote base. And meanwhile, Ukraine has set up an export corridor in the Black Sea that's really boosting our economy and global food security. Yesterday I met with the IMF and World Bank, and they're impressed with the Ukraine's economic growth, almost 5%, and that's significant. Ukraine is gradually becoming less dependent on aid, and we are moving to the right, I think, right direction, and I want to discuss with the President how to strengthen it, especially enhancing our air defense and ability to destroy Russia's logistics. Our goals for 24 are clear: take away Russia's superiority and disrupt their offensive operations. And I think it's real. And also some other important things. I met with the heads of American defense companies yesterday. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Really powerful companies. I thank them, and thanks all the workers, engineers, managers who built and build the strengths of American weapons, helping Ukraine boost the development of arsenals of democracy. President Biden agreed, and we spoke about it in September, to joint weapon co-production. It's very important for us, and we'll discuss how to speed up this. And we also need to work faster with the frozen Russian assets, over 300 billion frozen assets from terrorists, and we should use it to protect against Russian terror. And I want to talk about some details regarding our reforms and EU integration. Ukraine continues to reform its institutions even during the war. It's very important for us, and we are successful. I think that's very important, and people need to be confident that freedom is secure and strong enough to win. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. And before the press, hey, whoa, hush up a second, okay? I got one more thing to say. I just signed another $200 million drawdown from the Department of Defense for Ukraine, and that'll be coming quickly. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are you mad at me? President Biden, are you mad at me? What you're going to win this about? President Biden, are you mad at me? President Biden, President Biden, sir, President Biden, are you mad at me? About changing his government? Let's go. Are you mad at me?
Stand up. Stand up. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you guys.
Great.
Thank you so much.